My name is Melanie, or just Mel. I was diagnosed with lung cancer when I was 15. I recently found out how long I had left to live, and now I'm going to tell you how much my life has changed since then. When you're born, your parents make plans for your future. At a more mature age, you make your own plans. I always dreamed that I would leave my hometown and go to New York, climb to the top, have a career, and make a lot of money. I was sure I would go to a good college and get a good education. I wanted to please my parents. I wanted them to be proud of me. It all started so insignificantly. At first, I had a cough 2 to 3 times a year. We thought it was just a common cold. Then pneumonia several times in 6 months. And so more and more often. And then everything happened fast. I couldn't sleep because of a high fever. My mom got really scared, called an ambulance. I started coughing, and then I started choking. The pain pierced me on every breath. My dad didn't wait for the ambulance and drove me himself. We were flying at high speed. Mom and I sat in the back seat. Dad was so hysterical, he lost control and we skidded. Some truck crashed into us as our car was thrown sideways into the oncoming lane. Dad was gone the next day. The stress made me feel worse. My mother was rushing from one hospital to another. She was going crazy about my dad and me, and she always said that she couldn't lose me now too. I was exhausted and went into a coma for 4 days. And when I came to, the doctors gave me this diagnosis. You can't even imagine what was going on with us at that moment. My mother, it was as if she had died. She was only a shell of what she used to be. At first we grieved, we cried a lot, but then she said that she would not let this evil disease take me. She sold everything we had and took me abroad for expensive consultations and tests. At first, I went through several courses of immunotherapy, but it didn't help. Then I started getting chemotherapy. I'm not going to tell you how painful and bad it was. I will only say that at that moment, I didn't want to live that way. After 2 years of intensive treatment, I felt better. The results weren't as bad, but still, I was adhering to a safer lifestyle. I wasn't allowed to be in direct sunlight for long periods, wasn't allowed to bathe in the pool or the sea. I wasn't allowed to catch a cold. My mother switched me to homeschooling so that I had no unnecessary contact with anyone. Only occasionally was I allowed to go out with my friend Gigi. She always wore a mask and kept her distance from me. On one such walk, I went out with G to walk in the park. She said she had forgotten her phone at home and asked me to sit and wait for her on a bench. I agreed. When she left, I suddenly felt sick. I couldn't breathe. I knew the feeling, the pain with every breath. I needed my inhaler. I looked for it in my bag but couldn't find it. I began to panic with a severe cough. Tears came to my eyes and I was scared. I thought that was the end. I thought I had lost my inhaler. But then someone ran up to me and let me inhale the medicine. After the first breath, I felt better. I looked up thinking it was Gigi, but a guy was standing over me. He was looking at me frightened and holding me so tightly as if I were about to fall over.
Are you okay?
Huh? Yeah, thanks. I'm fine now.
You dropped it. It was on the ground.
Thank you. Without it, I would have...
I know. My grandfather used to use one of these.
Did he have lung cancer too?
Yeah, he did.
Is he still alive?
Sadly, no.
Shit. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's okay. How are you?
I'm as good as you can see.
I know what will help you.
What? He grabbed my hand and put me on his bike. I didn't even have time to say anything and didn't notice that I dropped my phone on the ground. The stranger, whose name I hadn't even asked, took me somewhere. I was curious at first, but then I stopped because I thought it couldn't get any worse. He drove me to the end of the city, and then we walked for another 2 kilometers, but we finally made it. There was a beautiful clearing in front of me. It was just grass, no flowers, no fragrant plants. Everything was beautiful. It was clean and fresh air.
My grandfather used to sit here for hours and breathe. He said the local air helped cleanse the lungs.
It is good to breathe here. What's your name?
My name is Arnold. What's yours?
Mel. We sat there for a couple of hours and I felt really good. After a while, I realized my phone wasn't with me, so we went back. When we got there, the whole street was in uproar. Gigi ran up to me first. "Are you crazy? I told you to wait! How could you leave and leave your phone?" I'm sorry. Your mom already called the police." "What? Who is he?" I looked at the distraught Arnold, and he ran up to my mother and started saying that it was all his fault. My mother was so angry, but I stood up for him, explaining that if it wasn't for him, I would have suffocated. Then she took me home and told me she would never let me out again. It was sad. I wasn't even allowed to say goodbye to him or get his number. Arnold left, and my mother asked him never to come back. That same night, we had a fight. "You can't control me anymore." "What? Control you? You have no idea what caring and controlling mean, do you? I'm afraid for you. You keep me in a cage like a rat." "Your health. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't care so much." "Health? Mother, I'm dying. Let me live the rest of my life happily. I've never seen light, only hospitals and IVs after Father's funeral. He gave his life for you to live. How dare you say you're dying? You think he died because of me?" "That's not what I said. You don't dare die, okay? You don't dare. You won't leave me alone." She kept crying and shouting something at me through her tears, and I just went to my room. Then my mom fell asleep and I went for a walk. I didn't know where to find Arnold, but I wanted to see him so badly. I went to that park and, oh yes, he was sitting there, all cold and sad. I ran up to him and hugged him. I don't know why I did it, I just wanted to. I didn't really know him, and I had no idea what he was really like, but I wanted to hug him. After a few minutes, he let go of me and looked at my face, and asked what I was doing there. "I wanted to see you. What are you doing here?" "Waiting for you. Hoping... I didn't even get your number." "Here, write mine down." He typed my number into his phone, and then we sat down on the bench and we were quiet. He was just hugging me, and I wished it would never end. "Arnold?" "Huh? Are you sick?" "No, I just wanted to ask, was your grandfather in a lot of pain when he was dying?" He didn't say anything. I could see that he didn't know how to answer. So I took a deep breath, and then I said, "I've never talked to anyone about this subject." "I understand. You're scared. So am I." "What do you mean?" "I have lung cancer too. Both lungs. I know exactly what you mean." At that moment, my whole body trembled. I looked at him and asked, "So, your grandfather?" "He died of another illness. I just didn't want to tell you right away." I pressed harder against him and then asked if he knew when he was going to die. "Yeah, they gave me a rough estimate. Do you?" "Not yet." "Don't rush to find out." "Why not?" "Because it'll be easier. Just live and enjoy it. Just live while there's time." "And how much time do you have?" "It doesn't matter. Just live like I live." Arnold walked me home. I kissed him and we said goodbye. He hasn't called me since, and I didn't take his number. I felt sad and bad. Gigi said he probably didn't want to make me feel sorry for him, so he disappeared. I went to our park bench every day, holding my inhaler, but he was gone. On one of those days, it rained heavily. I got sick and had complications. I went to the hospital, and there I was told that the disease was progressing again. "Doc?" "What?" How much longer do I..." The doctor sighed. Didn't want to say, but I squeezed out of him that I had less than 6 months to live. At first, I denied everything, sank into myself, and then accepted it. I threw everything I had into looking for Arnold. I looked for him like crazy until I found him. I got a letter in his name. He was gone. He was gone the day after we met. Despite the pain, he still managed to give me happy moments. I began to go to our place more often and breathe. It's been 2 years since then, but I'm still alive. I've had another relapse, and in that letter, Arnold asked me not to give up. He handed me the baton of life, and I took it. Wish me luck, guys. I have worms in my stomach. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica. Now I will ask for a little of your attention and tell you how important it is sometimes to pay attention to yourself. And it will not be about beauty salons, time with friends, or reading books. No, it's a little more serious than that. And for some reason, we often forget about it. Now I will talk to you about your health. And I'll tell you what my doctors found recently. When I found out, I was shocked, scared, and confused. And then I learned that this can happen to anyone. I'm just an ordinary high school girl. At school, the days often seem terribly boring and gray, and any event in the form of a trip outside of it is like a holiday. And then one day, the head of our class suggested that we go have a little fun right in class, or rather together with a physical education lesson. That day, our teacher agreed to stay with us and conduct the lesson in a different format. So we went to the pool. The pool opened in our city not so long ago, and we were the first to try it out. My classmate Ellie was very worried about this day because there was a guy named Steve in the class and she had a crush on him. What should I do? I have not lost weight yet and he will see me like this in a swimsuit? She shouted. I tried to calm her down, telling her that if he saw her like this, he would have to marry her later. I'm not kidding, she said resentfully. Personally, I didn't really care, because I didn't like anyone in the class. Ellie asked me to sleep over the night before. She wanted to take a good shower and get rid of the extra hair, if you know what I mean. Of course, I did not refuse her. After dinner, she went to the shower, and then we chatted for another 3 hours. She was worried all the time. My God, my friend, you're so excited, like tomorrow is your wedding night. Calm down, we're just going to the pool, the whole class, I told her, but it didn't help her. Well, the next day has come. We finally waited for this lesson and took the bus to the designated place. Upon arrival, we were pleasantly surprised because the building looked so from the outside. It was more like a dump, but inside it was cozy enough. We split up and went through the changing rooms. Yes, I hadn't seen my classmates in swimsuits yet. They were all noticeably grown up. Only Ellie was standing there, wrapped in a towel. Look, if you want to attract his attention, you shouldn't act like this. I advised her, and she just looked timidly at the other girls. Yes, I do not argue. There were figures much more beautiful than ours, but what can I do? What does it matter? When we gathered at the pool, a man came up to us. He worked there as an administrator. He greeted us warmly and then read the safety instructions. After that, he asked us not to dive into the water and left. No one was listening to him by then. As soon as the teacher gave the go-ahead, we jumped into the pool. It was fun, really fun, but Ellie was still sitting on her towel at the edge of the pool, and I called her and pointed at Steve, but she wrapped herself up even more. After 40 minutes, I got tired of trying to persuade her and I just went swimming because time was passing. In general, we all had a lot of fun. The lesson flew by quickly and we reluctantly went back to school. Ellie, why didn't you come with us? Your complexes will not lead to anything good. I told my friend on the phone in the evening. She just sighed and then said that she probably would never get over it. I went to bed, but I slept badly that night, despite my fatigue. My body ached and ached strangely, and I thought I must have caught a cold. In the middle of the night, I woke up with a fever. I had a sting. I drank the medicine and went to sleep again. The next day, I saw my classmates, and they looked as bad as I did. Everyone was sleepy, lethargic, and had no appetite. We couldn't really talk to each other because we were too lazy. When we went to the dining room, Ellie suddenly noticed some bumps on my arm. They spread before our eyes. After half an hour, I had bumps on both hands, and they itched, and I still had no appetite. After another 10 minutes, 2 of our classmates fell with acute abdominal pain. They were spinning around on the floor so much that I thought it was a stupid prank, but it was true. Those guys were taken to the infirmary, and the rest went to the lesson in a classroom. I could barely sit through the whole lesson. And after that, I still had to stay for additional lessons. I looked at myself in the mirror. My skin had turned green. I didn't understand what was happening, and then I thought that I should sleep and everything might go away. Our class somehow gathered for an extra class, and then at some point, I saw that one by one, we all fell to the floor. I was the first one, I think. I don't know how much time passed, but I woke up in the hospital. My classmates and my parents were there, and my mother and Ellie were standing over me. In response to my question, my friend said that everyone in the class felt bad. "What about you?" I said, and Ellie replied, "I didn't swim in the pool yesterday." Then the doctor came up to us all. All the parents were very worried, and they had no idea what to think. And then we were told that worms had been found in our bellies. "What? What kind of worms? From where?" our parents asked. The doctor said that maybe we all ate the same food or drank water from the same bottle. "Or swam in the same pool," I said, and everyone turned around. Then we realized that this was really the case, and Ellie was more proof. She was healthy because she didn't get in the water. These worms were eating us from the inside out, and we had to undergo a long and complicated treatment to get rid of them. Our parents went back to that pool and started dealing with the administration and found out that they had opened it underground. They had no documents, no cleanliness checks, and in general, now they could not get away with it. They broke down under the weight of mass applications to the court from our parents. As for us, we got better afterwards. In the end, the worms were got rid of, and we remembered them only as a terrible dream. Ellie reminded me more than once that it was her shyness that saved her life. And damn it, it was true. The next time we gave the choice of pool to our teacher, they did not go to a place just because it was cheaper.